As you guys probably know, this Osmos Pocket 2 can shoot 64 megapixels. 64 megapixels!
64 megapixels!
Which is twice the amount of my full frame camera over here. Now my A7 II here is the camera that I use most of the time for my paid shoots. So as a professional photographer, I can't help but be skeptical of what this 64 megapixels can do. After all, I did a video talking about megapixels over here, which proved that sensor size is more important than megapixel size. Now just have a gauge of how big the sensor size of this A7 II is. You can see that it's really large, and just to put them both side by side in a diagram over here, you can see that it's easily 4 or 5 times its size. The sensor size of this Pocket 2 over here is basically just 1/1/7 comparing with this, which is a 35 full frame. So out of curiosity, I knew I had to get to the bottom of this, and went out a few days back to take some side by side comparison photos. Let's take a look at the first set of photos. Wow, it's quite challenging to tell them apart. For a $500 little camera, I think it's holding really well against a $1000 full frame camera. But okay, one thing that really caught my eye is how the camera handles excessive light. As you can see from the Sony, there's a slight fog at the top of the Christmas tree, whereas the DJI Pocket 2 does not have. There's also a slightly better range of colors on the Sony. From the trees at the background, you can see that there are a bit more details in the leaves and in the lights. A really good start on the 64 megapixel photo taken from the DJI Pocket 2. Our second set of photo is a wide angle shot of the man-made waterfall at the Jewel Mall. When we zoom in, you can see that the details from the trees and the glass on the top of the waterfall frame is so much more visible. You can clearly see the lines and the structure of the whole framing, rather than just a blurry look on the DJI Pocket 2. You can also see a bit more details in the waterfall droplets than the one that is on the Pocket, but nothing too drastic to write home about. Moving on to our third set, by now you probably have noticed that the Sony photos are a little bit more green. It's mainly because in the second generation of the A7 II cameras, the colors have not yet been tuned comparing what's available now. So just keep that in mind. On the floor tiling, you can see more details, especially on the different look and the texture of the tiles, comparing the one that is on the DJI Pocket 2. The trees are definitely more distinct in terms of the texture and the look, comparing with the one on the DJI Pocket, which is a little bit blurry. Moving on to our last set of photos, is taken at the Terminal 3 Airport. Again, it is sharper in detail, such as the metal plates that is in the ceiling at the top, and the wordings in the background is a little bit more clearer. Overall, the colors are quite close, and just like the first set of photos, the difference aren't that obvious. As you can see, there are still differences between the photos I'm able to take with this Osmos Pocket 2 and this A7 II, but I'm really impressed with the 64 megapixels they are able to take up with this. For the differences to be so small from a 1/1/7 sensor and a full frame sensor is really unheard of. As you saw from the first and fourth set of photos which I've taken, it's hard to tell them apart due to the very good lighting that the background has. But there are certainly details between the second and the third set of photos which really tells these two cameras apart. Up to now, I'm still very shocked of the results they're able to get with this little camera. Because in my previous video which I compared my mobile phone with my RX100 and even my A7 II, the results were very conclusive, unlike this one which was so close. So is it worth the hype? Yes, for once I would say this little camera, 64 megapixels, is really worth the hype and could probably save you in dire circumstances. If you learned something or enjoyed this video, do give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below, as you'll help me to be able to push up my videos to other people who are looking for this kind of videos out there. And hit the bell notification over here so you'll be updated on my next upload. If you haven't watched my 7 reasons why I think you should get this little Osmos Pocket 2, do go over and watch it. You might be surprised of why you actually need this little camera compared to bigger cameras for your content creation. If not, I'll see you guys in the next video.